I'm going to introduce our panelists, but what I'm going to do is do that when I finish so that it's fresh in your mind when they start to speak. Before I get into some remarks that I prepared, I want to just relate something that happened last night that was just such a wonderful example of the value of networking. I was deeply honored to have been selected by Leadership New Jersey to be one of 30 leaders for 30 years. And I was being honored last night. One of the people who was going to be there is the Deputy Director for the Newark Arts Council. And I do a lot of connections for people that I work with and to connect companies. But my niece, who just graduated from college, didn't know what she wanted to do. And so I introduced her, and she secured an internship with the Arts Council. And this deputy director surprised me and brought my niece last night. And I was just blown away by that. It made every bit of networking that I've ever done in my life worthwhile, to be able to see her and see how poised she was in moving around the room. So I wanted to share that to start out. And I also am now along my career enough that I can say that there have been positive changes and things have changed in the way women are able to network and the way that we're able to connect. When I started my career, in order to get ahead, you had to be better, smarter, more diligent, more prepared than any man in the room. You had to be that way or you didn't get ahead. Today, being good at your job, as much as that's important, that isn't enough. You need to have a connection and a group of connectors that have your back. Central to the strategy is building a diverse network so you aren't going alone when you try to meet your professional goals. How can you make your personal goals a team effort? Our panel will talk about how they have built networks and how we maximize our exposure to a diversity of groups and people. How can you build a strong network, and how do you become a trusted partner and a subject matter expert? All of us know the value of networking, both professionally and personally. At a minimum, it's not hard, as I was relating, it's not hard to feel good about helping someone and knowing that because of your action, that the other person has benefited. The rewards may be very long in coming, but I assure you, the rewards will come. So, to get things started, a few takeaways. Develop your own style and personality. Find a way that you're comfortable with. Whatever we share may not be the right formula for you, but take those lessons and adapt them. Consider lateral moves. Sometimes going sideways is as important as going forward. Find organizations that fit your needs and work on your behalf. My own organization, Newark Regional Business Partnership, is one where we offer what we call brokered connections. And we work very hard to be able to listen and to identify the people and the resources that you need to be able to succeed. At EWNJ, we focus on giving information and providing an environment where women can network with each other at the highest levels, but also learn about how to propel men and women forward, to the C-suite and the executive board. I wanted to particularly cite, and I'm going to cite each of these women because they're all phenomenal in their own way, but Janine has been my, guardian angel, I guess is the way I'd put it, because along my whole career, Janine has quietly done things for me that have been remarkable, and I didn't even always know until afterwards that Janine had a hand in it. And one of the things that she did was introduce me to EWNJ, so I'm extremely grateful to Janine for that. As you get involved in volunteer positions, you will find that you will get so many rewards and you get recognition. Raise your hand, volunteer, be the one to do the work because it will assuredly come back to benefit you. As we were hearing in this morning, and I thought it was just phenomenal, be brave and be bold and ask for what you need. So we have a very short time for the panel. We're going to be keeping track. I'm actually 12 seconds over what I was going to do. And we'll begin with, after each of them give a short introduction, we'll begin with my questions, and then we'll weave in a lot of yours. So immediately to my left, Janine LaRue will have to tell you the different aspects of her career, because she's one who will never retire, because she keeps reinventing herself and keeps creating leadership positions, has been somebody that I've admired for a long, long time. Sarah Sorelli, now with VGA, is and by the way, I should have said, Janine is currently with Kauffman Zeta Group, phenomenal firm located in Trenton. Sarah Sorelli is a newer friend. I've known her from Witham and now has gone to VGA, and great story there. Mary McFinsky, no one can work a room like Mary. I mean it. I mean it in the best way. I really do. But, you know, she'll come back after 10 minutes and tell me that she's met 50 people. And she can tell me all about them and what they need. So with that, I'm going to start with Janine, and we'll do our introductions.
Good morning. So we have 2 minutes, and I don't know if I've ever done anything in 2 minutes. But I will take 1 second to acknowledge one of our principals of the firm, Adam Kauffman. Raise your hand. I love him so much. There he is. And it's the only lobbying firm that actually has a major lobbying firm that has a female principal. It's the Kauffman Zeta Group, and the Zeta is Patricia Zeta, so I'm pretty excited about that. I've had a marvelous career. I'm on, they don't like to hear this, but I'm on the downside of that now, you know, headed closer to 70 years old than I am to anything else. But as I networked coming up in my career, starting from a high school English teacher to a lobbyist of the NJBIA, the largest lobbying group in the state of New Jersey, then serving on the Casino Control Commission, and ultimately becoming the vice chair of that commission. Excited today hearing Barry Ostrowski. For 10 years, I had my career as senior exec for the St. Barnabas system, and then left there to go be John Corzine's deputy chief of staff, and went on, retired from Rutgers as senior VP of governmental affairs, and now I'm with the Kauffman Zeta firm. Not that I could not keep a job. Had nothing to do with that. What it had to do with, and I will tell you that the only job I applied for were 2 jobs, 1974 as a high school English teacher, and 1981 as a lobbyist for NJBIA. Have not applied for another job since then. And those opportunities, all of them, came through networking. All of them. And now, closing my 2 minutes so we can go on to the next one, but now I'm on the downside of that, and I am now reaping the benefit of relationships of younger people who I have mentored, who are now on their upswing of major careers where they can be helpful to me. I had a young man who I watched him grow up from the time he was 12 years old, and he said, can you give me a recommendation to be a staffer for Senator Corzine? And I'm thinking, this young kid, but this young kid is now 22 years old. He got hired. I'm going to need him at some point. I'm a lobbyist in my business. I had the chief of the Supreme Court, his son, wanted an internship, and I got him placed in a nice internship. But believe I'm going to go back to him at some point. I want to talk with him. And finally, the last one, a young guy I've watched from the time he was in 3rd grade, good friend of my grandson's who I raised. And he is now one of the persons to watch young people to watch in politics in the state of New Jersey. So it's amazing to me to go from the end of networking to move up that ladder to now networking to expand young people in their fields, because one day I know it will be useful to me as well. Thank you.
Janine for president.
Janine is old and tired.
All right, hey guys. My name is Sarah. I can't see you over there, but I know you're there.
You're there.
So I had a really big year, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my year. Most of you know me from my career at Witham. So I was with Witham for about 10 years as an interactive marketing manager, where I went to school for marketing, so obviously I thought I was going to end up at an accounting firm. But I made my career there, which was very successful, as in doing non-traditional marketing. So a lot of social media, helping these accountants create personal brands and generating leads through LinkedIn and all this good stuff, and I was very successful. I ended up being honored as Accounting Today's top 100 most influential people in the accounting industry, accounting profession in the country, because of efforts like this. And then last year, I actually accepted this speaking engagement while I was still doing that, and I'm not there anymore. So as soon as all of these amazing things started happening, I said, now is a good time to do something completely different. So I ended up leaving, and I left there without having any goddamn clue of what I was going to do next. And it is a very humbling experience to leave something that you are so good at and find your way into something where I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, but I hope to figure it out. So with this career change, so I recently accepted a director role in an industry where I know nothing about it and I have zero director experience. So actually, my mentor is in the room. Her name is Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
And so in addition to this big career change, this big professional leap of faith, I actually also, in the beginning of the year, for 10 weeks, was nominated as a candidate for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Woman of the Year campaign, Man and Woman of the Year campaign. So we had 10 weeks to raise as much money as possible. So through networking, I built this amazing team with these amazing qualities, and we ended up raising just about $50,000, and I was awarded Woman of the Year for LLS. Actually,
Awesome.
My big stupid face is going to be on a billboard on the Turnpike
it.
October 15th. It's a horrifying thing. But again, none of this would have been able. So I left. I drove home that day after telling my amazing company with them that it's time for my next move. And they said, congratulations, what are you doing next? And I said, I have no idea. And I drove home, try having that phone call with mom and dad. And I had a very great summer of very deep exploration. I explored myself. Let's be honest, I watched 12 seasons of Grey's Anatomy and spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. And then through my connections and through just building, I believe, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about using social media for strategic networking. And I find that people buy into a person before they buy into a vision. So I have spent this 10 years of my life not being a big fat jerk, helping, volunteering, providing value in whatever way, just being unapologetically myself. And I think that it can lead you to a place where you find yourself in a very undesirable, jobless, no money coming in, eating a lot of SpaghettiOs and store brand toilet paper. It's very easy to find that next area of your life through strategic networking and the relationships that you've built and leverage them. So that's where I am right now.
Excellent.
And I'm Mary McFinsky. I'm a business banking manager with Wells Fargo. However, I have to say, networking for me has been 30 years of making new friends. I think I'm very passionate about people. I love to learn about people. As Barbara said, when I walk into a room, I'm not going out to sell, who I am as far as my company. I really get to know people and get to know, something about them. I try to, in every conversation, sit down and have, find one thing that I connect. I'm horrible with names, so that's the way I could put names to people, is about finding out something about them. I'm often thought of as a connector. It comes very, very easy to me because of the amount of people I know. I take great pride in the fact that I can make a connection, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. One recent one that I made with somebody I met at one networking event to a client, and it's a great success. But I just love meeting people. I'm one of 8 children, so I had to be around people all my life in a very small house with 1 bathroom, so it was tough. But, even through that, through my family, I meet so many different people, and I get recommendations all the time. And again, it doesn't matter really where I work. It was more on people, the trust that I've built up with people, the fact that, I go into every single conversation confident about who I am and what they'll know to expect of me. And I think that's the most important.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, all of you, for doing that. A couple of things come to mind. One is, Janine, you were talking about watching younger people come up and then having them be people that you go to. And this also will tie into something Sarah said about social media. What I've found is that I had 2 younger people. I now have 1, and we're looking to find another within NRBP. And I go to them. I went, and I still go to the one that is there, because I need to ask questions about social media and online activity. And so I'm turning to them all the time for advice. And so instead of it being, I'm the superior, you are learning from me, we're learning both ways. And I find that to be so energizing, just so tremendous, that I have the opportunity, somebody who's so early in their career, that I can learn from them. So for both Janine and Sarah, I'd like to know a little bit more of your thoughts about that reciprocal networking and sharing that can happen between generations.
Yeah, if I could do a quick twist on that, because one of the things I think, it's about networking amongst groups that are different from who you are. It could be age, it could be ethnicity, it could be gender. I think one of the things in listening, that we've got to get out of our comfort area and reach across the aisle to folks who are different than we are. In an event like this, if someone says, okay, I'm going to give you 20 minutes of networking, most of the women will only talk to the women. I don't know how many people talk to you guys, whether you have to walk up to folks and start it, because most of the women will talk to the women. Most of the whites will talk to the whites. Most of the younger people are talking to the younger people. For some odd reason, that's the way it goes. And the thing that I love about networking, I have enriched my life so much by learning about other people and interacting with other people. In my networking travels, it's not all a conversation about work. I have a dog that I left, my little Yorkie. Adam laughs and says the dog lives better than we do. But I dropped him off to boarding this morning, and he didn't want to stay. Well, I've had 4 conversations. I've connected with 4 people today talking about a dog. They had dogs, and then now somebody convinced me, go ahead and get them neutered in a couple of weeks. And so it's amazing how you connect with people. So it's not just generational, but you got to get out of your comfort level and just connect with folks and talk with them. Just talk with them about anything. And it could end up being some life-changing situation where you end up with another career. It could.
I'm gonna jump in and say that I make extensive notes that I keep in my Outlook about people, and you would be amazed at how touched people are when you remember not only the good things but the bad things that happen, the anniversary of a death of a parent, things like that. You call the person up and say, I'm thinking about you today. Today might be a harder day for you. And people are just so touched by that. And a big pet peeve of mine is people who come to a networking event and they sit with their colleagues. They sit with the people that they already, not only that they know, but the people that they see every day in the office. What a waste of your time. You might as well have stayed in the office. Forget about coming out to the event. So, Sarah, I want to let you.
So kind of touching on social media, that's really where my experience is. And I'm the same page and taking it even a little bit more basic. Social media can be such a powerful tool when it comes to building and maintaining and utilizing a network of really quality relationships. But when you strip it down, social media isn't this big, magical, powerful tool. It is something that helps you amplify what you're already doing and the person that you already are. So I know you guys know if you're on Facebook and you have to sift through so much crap and people complaining about Trump, it's all I'm seeing. There is such a big window of opportunity for a little bit of positive energy, for helpful comments, helpful tips. You'd be surprised how attractive you can become when you're in a good mood, period. That's it. And I have found that a lot of success using social media in just connecting yourself, really just connecting with somebody in general, when maybe you smile, I don't know. It really can go a long way. And there's just so much value in creating this professional brand where you're helpful and you're known for giving back and giving advice and reaching out a hand and just being a connector, connecting somebody with somebody else. Even if there's nothing grand that you can do, just taking that extra step and being that type of person really goes such a long way. I cannot stress that enough. You can't look to social media to fix everything. It's not going to fix everything. It's going to amplify your efforts in whatever way that they are.
I have more questions, but I know from feedback from last year that people in the audience felt like they didn't have enough chance to ask questions. So I want to just take 2 audience questions, and then we'll come back to doing a little bit of follow-up, and then we'll go back and forth. I'm going to ask a couple of things. One is that when you take the microphone, I see the microphone over here, when you take the microphone, state your name, your company, and then ask your question succinctly, because we really want to be able to get through as much material as possible. So please be brief in your question. So.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. My name is Micah Kraft. I'm an attorney with Fox Rothschild. I do labor and employment defense. I guess my question is more for you, or anyone actually, but the struggle I have sometimes with trying to network on LinkedIn, or sort of do like cold calls, if you want to call it that, on LinkedIn, is sort of finding a connection and attracting the attention of my target, for lack of a better word, so that they're interested in me and they don't think I'm a weirdo just for reaching out to them. And this is a person maybe that I've never connected with in person or in real life. So I guess my question is, how do you sort of form that intimate connection on social media with someone you've never met?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually just found myself in a very similar, so I can share a story, a personal story. So again, I am brand new to this industry. I'm in the AV tech industry. It's something, I came out of accounting. So I had that moment where I was sitting at LinkedIn, and all of my successes come from LinkedIn. So I'm like, all right, I'm staring at LinkedIn. I'm like, all right, do something. And so what I decided to do, and I always look to the outside to, look for things that are working for other people, whatever else. So what I decided to do was, in my industry, pull a bunch of names of people who seem to have it figured out. And I found one, and I opened up a message. He has no idea who I am. And so I opened the message and I was like, how can you make this? And this is something that is everybody's issue. How do you make somebody care? It doesn't matter what you're selling, what you're trying to do, how do you make somebody care? My best advice for that is just be 100% transparent and honest. I wrote my message and I said, hey, Mike, my name is Sarah. You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. I'm brand new. This is what just happened to me. I'm in this industry. You seem to have it figured out. There is no need that you need to even respond to this message. But if there is something that you are reading on the train on the way into Manhattan every single day where you're learning, if there's any events that you like to go to where you're learning about this industry, would you mind just keeping me in mind? And since then, we've had a ton of conversation, and he's turned into this informal mentor of mine, and I hope to learn so much. And it's just a relationship where I didn't say, Hello, my name is Sarah Straley. I'm the Director of Marketing for Video Corporation of America, and we are a full-service AV and tech integrator. No, I said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I think you do. So would you mind maybe teaching me something or helping me? It's, people are attracted to that level of transparency, and when you're a real person, people are attracted to that, and I hoped that this person had been in my shoes maybe once or twice in their own life. So if there's somebody that you are looking to connect with and something that you're trying to do, just be 100% honest about why it's valuable to both of you. What type of benefit there's going to be in working with you, a relationship, and just be totally honest with that. And you'd be surprised how accepting people can be to transparency and honesty, I find.
Mary, Janine, did you want to comment?
I would look. She said it perfectly. But the one thing I would really caution folks to do, when you listen to Sarah, her sincerity comes through. She is not BSing us. You feel it. And I remember back in the day, like 20, 30 years ago, you could tell everybody who read the books How to Win Friends and whatever. John T. Malloy, Dress for Success for Women, why a guy had to do that book, I never could tell. So you could look at every woman and say they read the book. Make sure when you look in the mirror before you reach out like that you're really sincere in your ask. Because it doesn't work for everybody if it sounds canned. I mean, if she wrote me an email like that, I'm gonna call her. I would say, can you give me your phone number? I'm not even going to email her. I want to talk to her because it comes through as sincerity. And one of the things that I say to people all the time, if you're going to get into this whole thing called networking and you don't like people, don't bother.
Yeah.
Don't even bother.
You'd be surprised.
You have to, and there are folks where you can tell right away they don't like people, they don't want to be here. And they shake your hand, and the hand is going down like this, and you want to grab it and say, "Don't let go yet." We haven't shaken yet. But you've got to be sincere with that type thing.
But you know what, though, Janine, I'm going to disagree a little bit with you.
That's good. I like that.
And I'll tell you why. I'm going to disagree because I think anyone can learn how to network.
Yep. Oh, you can learn.
Anyone can do it. You may not know how to do it. You may not be comfortable doing it, but I assure you, you can learn how to do it. And by doing what Sarah's talking about, being yourself and really saying, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me to do it? Go to somebody like Janine, go to any of the people up here and say, I'm very shy. I actually had a woman this morning tell me she was sitting by herself in a room, and she's somebody who is like really accomplished. And she said, well, I'm not very good at networking. Wow. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Because of who you are. And she was very, very uncomfortable. So, ask for help in that too. Let's take another question.
Good morning, Kat Medeiros, Fuel Merchants Association of New Jersey, an active NJBIA member. I'm actually, and this is for the connector, I'm working with Sarah Bloom from NJBIA, and we have started a women's networking golf league every Tuesday at Mountain View during the golf season at 3 o'clock. First season, it was just word of mouth. Second season, we put the schedule out, and we still keep getting the same girls, and we're doing it for two reasons. One, networking, and two, there's a lot of women that want to get involved in the golf, and it's a good thing for business. So what's your advice on what else we could do to try and get more women? They're scared to go out on the golf course, but they're with us. They're with women. So any advice you could give on how we can expand this? And any woman who wants to join, let us know.
It's funny you say that. I just had a conversation yesterday. We were at an event, and I don't know if any of you went to Women of the Wheel, but it was a fantastic event yesterday, and I was sitting with somebody who wanted to meet one of the panelists. So I said, well, I know her. So I brought her over there, introduced her, and then last night I sent the panelists an email of how fantastic she did, and I went back to the other woman and I said, I just invited her out to play golf. I want you to join us. That's going to be the way I'm going to introduce you. And she wrote back, Mary, I don't play golf. I said, I don't care. I said, you're coming out. I said, I haven't played in a year either. We're going to have fun, but we're going to go out. And she's like, okay. You know? And it's out of her comfort zone. She's like, I'm not a good golfer. Well, none of us are really good golfers. It's like we do it for the social aspect of it and to meet people. You know, I think even yesterday they were, or this morning, I think Barry mentioned something about golf and having the drink afterwards. You know, I think that people, you know, to your point, you know, it's golf, but it's just how do you get them to make that connection of, you know, who's going to be there, you know, what they're, you know, there's going to be something they're going to get out of it, whether they know how to play golf or not. It's that social interaction with people. You know, I think it's just, as you said, spread the word. But I think as people find that there's value in meeting other people there, it is going to start to expand. And it's not going to be just about the golf. It's going to be about the conversations and what happens after the golf. And I think there's another one out there that I think they just do 9 holes, right? And we just did this at work. I work in a building with 550 people. So, you know, I not only try to build my network outside, I build it inside. And one of our wealth advisors put together right across from our building, there's a little public course. I think it doesn't take more than 45 minutes to get through the course. So we went out, had fun. We went for drinks afterward. He brought people in the building that I've never met before. Since that, we've connected. We've gotten referrals back and forth, you know, just, so I think people just need to understand it's more than coming out to play golf, but it's what you're going to get out of it. And in almost everything you get out of it, what you want to put into it. So I think you'll grow just by taking those people you have today and just keep spreading, you know, what they're getting out of it and making sure they're getting something out of it. So.
Yeah, I think, you know, really trying to use, I mentioned it earlier, but I want to reinforce it, use those organizations to be able to meet people and meet people across industries. When you join an organization like Executive Women of New Jersey or NJBIA or NRBP, you're going to meet people that come from different organizations, but not everyone is going to be a fit for you. You need to find the one that is most comfortable for you and where you think you're going to get the most value. And kick the tires, try different groups, and, you know, see what works for you. You know, I think it's working to take questions from the audience if there are other questions. Anyone?
Come on.
I've got plenty. But
Yeah, we have one right in front.
I have a question. So I'll speak loudly, it's okay. I'm too far away.
Oh, good, we can hear you.
Janine, I was curious.
Sorry, your name and your company.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joanne Connor, I'm the President's Chief of Staff at Rowan University.
My alma mater, all right. We're good friends already.
You just connected.
We're connected.
I had a question. When you were talking about your career path, you said that these opportunities came to you. I'm going to guess that there were more than the ones that you actually accepted.
Yeah.
How did you strategically make those decisions about which to accept and which not to accept?
Well, I'll admit that part of it was money.
Atta girl.
But it had to do with interest at the time. Being a part of, I've served on, I guess what, about 26 boards in my, and none of them paying, by the way, all volunteer.
Oh, yeah.
But I will tell you, every single organization that I have served on a board, it has enriched my life. You know, when you get, you don't think about what you're going to think about when you get older. But when I look back on my career, I am so grateful that I made some of the decisions that I did. And so I would serve on a board. Now, with Barnabas, I actually had gone to the CEO and I said, I'd like to get some doctors to be mentors. And he said, okay. I was CEO of a group called the 10,000 Mentors Group. And he opened up the auditorium, all of his doctors at North Beth Israel, nurses, administrators, and we got a lot of good mentors from there. But when it was over, he said, I'd like to have breakfast with you. And I said, well, your staff is handling the mentoring, it's going well. He said, no, I want to talk with you. I want to create an area. I want to offer you a job. I mean, it actually, same thing with Rutgers. I mean, you never know what's on the other side of your door. You just have no idea. And that's why I tell men and women, branch out, get involved with stuff, not just organizations in your field. You have no idea what's going to lead you to your next steps.
That's true.
You just don't know.
Okay. We had another question over here.
Marguerite Mount, I'm Managing Director in the Mercadian Group, which is a financial services group of companies. Sarah
knows this.
Yeah.
What I like to get an understanding of, because I've been networking all of my career, I've been at this for 30 years. What do you think is the most strategic approach to take? We have a lot of young folks in our organization that want to get out there and network, and I'd be interested to, like, the 5 top things to think about when you're thinking about strategic networking.
I'll start. So I mean, I really like to think about strategic networking as I've been taught to market, period. So you can't have an efficient strategy without understanding the behaviors of who you're trying to network with. So obviously everybody hangs out somewhere differently. They care about different things. So really take the time, you know, like in a professional service, maybe accounting or legal or whatever else, really take the time to figure out where they're spending their time, what they're reading, what they care about, especially with social media. You know, it's very, you can target it very differently. Targeting the CFO who's too busy to leave his desk during lunch but is opening up his Facebook to check something or LinkedIn to check something is very different than the millennials who are spending all their time on Snapchat or whatever else. So it's very wise to really take the time to understand the group that you're trying to connect with and their behaviors, where they're spending their time, and then go after them.
Yep.
That's what I would say.
I think also, you know, I think I do a lot of networking, right? So as you probably do, I think this is my 4th event this week, you know, and somebody asked me something before about work-life balance. I said, there's no work-life balance for women, right? Seriously, we work or we have life. It's like, you don't really do both in the same day, most cases. But I think, you know, I strategically try to find out, you know, where's the network of people that I want to be around, you know. I do tend to probably go to a lot of women's events. And I just feel that I just get to meet the people that, you know, probably will help me in my career. I do go to events where there's men, and I'm not afraid to talk to them. But I tend to kind of gravitate to more of the women's events because I think when women are at an event, they'll talk to each other. You know, if this is the room today, we're all talking to each other. And you know, if half the room was men, I think as somebody said before, we'd still be all talking to each other. Mm-hmm. So I do find myself doing a lot of women events, but you know, I also try to, you know, whatever it is I'm looking for, you know, always want to meet 2 or 3 people that I'm going to connect with to follow up with. You know, I usually know who's running the events. You know, I know Sally's in the room or Barbara's in the room. I always know that if there's somebody on that list that I want to meet, all I have to do is go up to Sally or go up to Barbara and say, I want to meet this person today. Can we make that happen? And it always happens. I find myself now in that position where people come up to me, and one of the things with NRBP, with Barbara, I'm an ambassador. That's my role. You know, I love to take people and sit at a table and you know, move, you know, who do you want to meet? And they're like, well, you know them? I said, of course, and take them right over to there. But I think you strategically, you know, you're not going to go to an event that's out of your comfort zone, right? That you're going to be, you know, and I've done that. Walked in where, you know, probably 25 years ago where I was the only woman walking in, and you're like, you know, who do I talk to? And kind of sit in the corner, and, you know, you've got to make sure, especially for younger folks, that, you know, there's people in the room that'll help them. They know that they can point out to somebody that is an ambassador in that room. Mary, you know, I don't know you, but, you know, here's my agenda today. Here's what I want to do. I do ask people when they walk in, what do you want to get out of today's event? You know, one of the great events we do is a let's do lunch. And that's one of the things. You sit at a table, and it's like, what is your expectation for today? Why did you come here? You know, it's not because your company said, I'm going to pay the $35 for you to come. It's because, you know, there's a reason why you came in, but it's probably, you know, could be out of your comfort zone. But, you know, what is it that you want out of today? And I really try to make it a point to make sure I can take 2 or 3 people at those events and help them get out of it what they want to get in, you know, what they want out of it.
I think that's really important, that you go into an event and think a little bit before you go into it about what you want to get out of it. Don't just go and show up and hope for the best, but really think through how you're going to approach it. If there's 1 or 2 people in particular that you want to be able to meet, whatever it is, think about it in advance and seek out people to help you. Also, something that's really important to me is to arrive early.
Yep.
be the first one in the room, because then you're the one greeting everybody coming in, as opposed to walking in and everybody's already engaged in conversation. And it also means that you're in the room when it's quieter.
But there was traffic today. I did my best.
And you know what? You set the alarm earlier. You know,
I did all I could.
To Barbara's point, though, yesterday when I walked in the room, Barbara was standing at the door, so she had gotten there before me. And when I got in the room, there was too many people that I really wanted to get to the coffee. It took me 40 minutes to get over there.
That's a big day.
I kept saying to Barbara, I just want to get over there. It's like, I just stopped so many people I talked to, and now it's time for the program to start, and I'm like, okay, there's coffee on the table, thank goodness. It's like,
without even thinking about it, I was standing in the doorway, and I was greeting people. I'm like, wait a minute, it's not my event. Just habit. Sarah.
Yeah, I also want to mention something also to your question, kind of the other end of it all, and because I live and breathe effective social media, there is so much to be said about being able to be networked. So please, I have to encourage you all, I'm only going to say it once, please spend some quality time on your LinkedIn, your presence, your online presence, period, without really putting in the effort to being very clear about who you are, who you work with, what you do, what you're looking for. It makes it that much easier for the right people to find you, and it makes it that much easier for you to be networked, which is an essential piece of the puzzle. You can't do all the work. That's not fair. Let everybody else do some of the work. And so I have to encourage that to be part of the overall piece of the puzzle. And I actually have some, because we're doing very little tactical, I always bring you guys goodies when I speak, so I have a LinkedIn optimization cheat sheet up here and some tips on how to engage others in networking on LinkedIn. So if you just want to grab one on your way out, I wanted to give you a takeaway, but that is definitely an important piece of the puzzle. You'd be surprised how many people still don't have a freaking picture on LinkedIn. How is that possible?
The egghead, right?
You still have the egghead
That's
and
crazy.
incorrect phone numbers, and it sounds so basic, and I know I don't need to tell you guys this, but there's probably like 2 or 3 people in here that I probably do need to say that to. So for those 2 or 3 people, don't forget about that.
Well, one of the things back to the millennials, though, is something that I'm trying to do with some of the younger folks that I work with is get them involved in boards.
Yeah.
I have to say, early on in my career, I joined a couple boards, one of them being American Conference on Diversity and another being Foundation for the Local Hospital. And I still have that network, even though it was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I really, I know on boards I sit today, I don't see a lot of young people. It seems like it's us, right? It's the same people. We run the circuit, and right now for myself, I'm looking to get on some additional boards. But even the people I'm meeting with, they're my age group, right? I just think that's so important to get involved in these. I mean, I think Sally, you told me last week how many nonprofits there was in New Jersey. 48,000, right? So there's got to be a board out there for everybody, but they got to do what they're passionate about too. You got to get on the board. I mean, American Conference on Diversity for me was one that, when I looked at what we did for kids, the peer leadership groups and how these kids felt when they came out of it, I was passionate about that. So, I then realized my network around me, the other board members, we kind of all had the same interests, that what's the outcome, going to with these kids? How do they make a difference in our communities, right? And it was so powerful. But I felt that network around me through those board members too. And again, I still have connections with all of those board members that make recommendations to me. And, that's really, I think, how I got started networking. It wasn't, it was definitely out of my comfort zone when I was younger to just go out, I just do chamber events. And it's like, there are, no offense to any chambers, but sometimes they're pretty boring. There's 80,000 bankers in there, right? It's like, how do you make a difference?
Not NRBP.
I don't consider that a chamber. No. So we do a lot of community things, but talk to the millennials, talk to the younger people. Have you thought about getting on a board? I know. I'll say, Sally, one more time, we're having lunch in a couple of weeks with a younger person that wants to get started in that type of stuff, doesn't know how. So I said to her, the first person you have to meet is Sally. She's going to get you connected. She'll tell you which is the right thing, whatever you're passionate about, make the connection for you. So, we set up a lunch together. But, really encourage younger people to get involved in boards. They're very powerful, and they'll feel good about what they're doing.
That is such a good point. I have to, excellent point. You know, I always get asked the question, how do you create an audience? How do you create a network? How do you get all these people to buy into whatever it is? And I have to echo that, you know, no matter what it is you're trying to sell, if you have something you want to sell, something you want to say, something you want to do, something you want to change, the easiest way you can create a following is to prove your passion to somebody. It is the only way, and people can tell if you are lying. And that's why, kind of speaking to my own experience, if you ever get to a point in your life where you just don't believe in what you're doing, you've got to leave. You've got to change it, because people can tell when you're lying and it's going to become unsuccessful, and you can't do anybody any good if you are not happy with what you're doing. And I cannot say that enough. And sometimes you need to throw yourself into a position where you have no choice but to find the next move, like I just did. So I have to really encourage you to be very true with that and who you are and what you're passionate about, because you can really do something great, and definitely activate the millennials, because we're all crazy. We think we can change the world. So
I want to say something else about passion. Back in '91, when Anita Hill was, I said Anita Hill was on trial. It wasn't about Clarence Thomas becoming a Supreme Court justice. But at that time, when I looked at what was happening to her in that hearing, I was really outraged. And I felt at that point that there should be a gathering of women in the state of New Jersey where women could come together and talk about their issues. And I thought it should happen over a couple of days. That, you know, if the boys can get together for a conference for a couple of days and talk about stuff, that we women could get together for a couple of days and talk about women's issues. I was laughed out of the room when I thought that it would work. And I think Melanie will probably remember back then, I put together a small group of women who I had served in other boards with and said, why don't we have a women's summit? And I felt we could get at least 100 people to come together and talk about women's issues. The first person to send in a check was Michael Murphy, who at the time was the county prosecutor for Morris County. He was the first check I got. His check for himself and for 4 women in his office. That event, the first event, turned out to be 550 men and women who convened at the Cherry Hill Hyatt, a 2-day women's summit. It outgrew Cherry Hill Hyatt, and we ultimately had to have it at the Brunswick Hilton, and Christine Todd Whitman took it over as the Governor's Conference for Women. And that event ultimately grew to a 2,500 participant, even with Maya Angelou as one of the keynote speakers. The reason I tell you that story is that your passion, you never can tell where your passion is going to lead you as well. And if there's something you feel really strongly about, do that. And call on your circle, your network of friends and colleagues, and ask them to help you do it. You just never can tell. I never thought that that little event was ultimately going to be the Governor's Conference for Women.
That's where I think that you'll get surprises all along the way, good surprises.
Yeah.
That what you do, you have no idea how what you say or what you do is going to impact people. And I want to just take back the last bit of conversation to something I said in the beginning, which is find your own style.
Yeah.
Because if there's anybody in the room that doesn't think that Sarah's authentic, I want to know if they've been really listening, because that, you know, it comes through, and I think
Try
that's
dating
true.
me.
You know, but for Janine and Mary also, you're getting a sense of the people that they are because of the things that they're saying and sharing about what they do. I know one of my takeaways that I just made a note of is that I'm calling Sarah up because I have some things I want to do on LinkedIn, and I'm not quite sure how to do them.
Wow.
And I'm going to ask Sarah for her advice.
Yeah, I
There you
got you.
go.
So, it's and I'm hoping she'll say yes.
She just did.
So let's take some more audience questions.
I think I can speak loud enough in the room.
Okay.
My name is Eileen Millett, and I'm an attorney at Lindenberry McCormick Estabrook. I just want to pick up on something that everybody, I think, up here has said about LinkedIn. Now, initially I thought that LinkedIn was really, a professional social networking tool, and that's what you used it for. But recently, with the American College of Environmental Lawyers, I went to my mother's country, which is Cuba. And so I did an update on LinkedIn saying, I'm going to Cuba, we're going to talk to the government about trying to find cooperative environmental projects that we can work on. I was blown away that I got 70 people saying, please tell us what you found in Cuba, please come back and let us write about it and tell us more. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there are people in my network who I never even thought were paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with work because these are pro bono projects. And all of these people kept commenting about my trip.
You say it has nothing to do with work, but it does. I feel that people spend their time on LinkedIn to enrich their professional lives. And whatever it was that you were doing was inspiring them in whatever way made sense for them. So it all, you say it wasn't necessarily connected, but it really is such a big piece of the puzzle. And just focusing your energy on something that you're passionate about inspires somebody else to do the same. And I really feel like, yeah, LinkedIn is the best place to control your online identity, but it's also a place to just really take your professional life to the next level. And I think that post was interesting to people, and it can help them do the same. I do. I believe that.
I want to
Great
take,
story.
we're just about out of time, but there was one question back there. I wanted to be able to take the woman in the back. You want to use the microphone?
So I'm Lauren Lalikhan. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce. So obviously I look very young. I'm also Asian and young and a woman. So there's a lot of things working against me, especially in my field, because there's not a lot of people who look like me. So I have no problem networking and meeting people, but making that lasting connection, especially with people who don't really look like me or have common experiences, is tough. So I was wondering if you had any advice for making a lasting connection.
I think one of the things when I was younger out networking, I kind of felt the same way, right? I was out there, I was probably the youngest person in my profession. I moved up in my career pretty fast, became a manager and was out doing these things and used to think the same thing, like, everybody's older than me. I think, the fact that's always helped me is, I think we've mentioned it a few times, the passion I've had, the confidence. I think earlier Gail has said, you kill them with confidence. And I always find I try to do that, and I've gotten compliments over that, like, wow, like, again, the passion stands out, but your confidence. So I think that's really important. People will remember that. If you're as confident as that I could stand up in this room like anyone else,
Yeah.
they will remember that. So
Yeah.
The other thing, don't poo-poo the thought of mentors.
Yep.
Or a godfather or godmother to help you along. I don't look like your average person either. I mean, I have my own style. I started in this business when I was in my 20s. I'm not even 5 feet tall, black. I wear weird hairdos, the whole 9 yards. So I really did have to, and in the business of governmental affairs, where most of my peers, at that time, almost all my peers, except folks like Melanie and maybe 4 or 5 other women, almost all of them were white guys who were average height, and I've always been very ethnic. So I did have a godfather and a godmother who helped validate me in some circles. They even made some phone calls on my behalf, and I would follow up. And then when I got to an event, I'd gravitate right over there to those folks because I knew that they knew me and they felt comfortable with me. You sometimes you have to work at it a little harder, but that's the fun of it all. And then when you clock up the years, and you look back, you'll say, what a hell of a ride, That was fun.
Okay. We're going to wind up. I just want to say a thank you to Janine, Sarah, and Mary for sharing authentically. And we hope that you got a lot out of this and that it was
Stay in
beneficial.
touch.
Yes. Thank you.